So Craig is one of our enterprise relationship managers at LinkedIn within the financial services vertical. Craig is a pioneer in this space. He was our first enterprise financial services relationship manager and has rolled out countless successful programs and is an expert on best tips and tricks. So I'm going to turn it over to Craig to share his insights.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. And welcome. I noticed the beer cart is already outside. So we've heard so many great things today from our product people, from Guardian, from the MBA, from our compliance partners. And what we're going to try to do in the next 25 minutes together is really just tie it all together and give you guys some actionable steps that you can do as you go about thinking about making a program of your own, and really have a discussion, a time where you can ask questions. You have a ton of experts in this room today. So as you go about thinking about your program, these are the people to ask. Again, you have almost all of the people in the room, and I want to stress that it's going to be a discussion. So to get us started, how many of you are thinking about having a social selling program or putting one in place? Okay, we've got one. That's good. You can stay. How many of our compliance? We've got two over there. How many of our compliance partners do we have in the room today? Okay, Smarsh. I see Hearsay Social. I see Nextgate, Proofpoint. Yeah, well, more. Yeah, perfect. And how many of you guys already have a social selling program in place? Perfect. Can you guys stand up and tell us your names and where you work for? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. These are your experts, guys. These are the ones who are already doing it. They're already putting it in place. Over the next day and a half or so, make sure you grab one of them. Find out what they're doing. Find out how they got started. I want to take you through, four basic tenets of starting a social selling program. We've heard a lot of them in the conversation between Nate, between Justin at the MBA. We've heard a lot of these, but I want to give you guys a little bit of a structure today about what those could actually look like for your team and what you should be thinking about as you get started. They talked about getting buy-in for your program initially. What's the process for getting it? You guys know your organizations better than we do. Is it a top-down? Is it a bottom-up? What's going to work for you guys? And thinking and maybe putting some discussion around what that's going to look like for you. Also want to talk about learning, support, training. How do you get your teams to actually adopt this? And then once it's been adopted, how do you continue success? How do you drive momentum and build further support for the program? And lastly, how do we demonstrate success? What goes into a successful program? What should you be measuring as you think about a program? And what can you really bring at the end of the day to say, hey, this is really working? So to get us started, executive sponsorship is absolutely critical to starting a program. Having somebody that's going to champion it, help set the initial goals, the initial metrics, is absolutely crucial. So as you guys think about your programs, did you guys start top down? Did you start bottom up? Top down. And who did you go to at the top? Okay, head of business banking. Did you go there? So question for you, did you go there with a LinkedIn person? Did you sell it as your own idea, or was it a partnership? Simon, of course. Perfect. For those of you that don't know, if you do take a top-down approach, we have a whole educational curriculum to educate senior leaders around the importance of social, around how this could benefit their teams. And you heard this repeatedly from the MBA, from Guardian. We really are your partners in this journey. Happy to go there, happy to educate them. We have a whole training that's set up really around that. Happy to answer questions about that at the end, and we also have other people who are using it as well. Did you take a similar approach, or did you go bottom up? Top down. Okay. And is it working? Okay, good. Perfect. We do see people, and as we open this up, I'd love to get your thoughts on some of the challenges of going top down versus going bottom up. Some of the things that you guys have seen maybe as you think about putting in a program. Any volunteers? Okay.
No, they're not supposed to be mini marketers or, I want them, the sales managers would say they want them out there selling. Now, I understand that the paradigm, folks in this room would say that the paradigm has shifted and getting out there selling is actually using Sales Navigator and selling in a different way. But I think that's one of the hurdles we face, is that kind of changing the fact that it is actually, instead of making a call, I'm getting a new connection. I think that's kind of like a huge shift, especially in the financial services industry, in the mutual fund industry that I deal in the wholesale world, where the demographics are just not, we're not talking about a lot of millennials, so.
No, that's a real absolute concern, or a real challenge that people face as they get started. We heard how the MBA dealt with it, which was really through a grassroots, building support with a small program, getting something off the ground, having 1 or 2 success points that you can then bring those stories. We're going to talk a little bit about that. How do I actually build support if I'm going to do a bottom-up approach? Anyone else? Any other challenges or things that you guys are facing as you're out there? Michael?
It's kind of a combination. So you can get executive support like they had at Ameriprise or they have at AXA. If there's not, it really helps to have bottom-up demand from especially top performers who are banging on headquarters to do something. And then the other thing I would comment on, I think a lot of people have had success in this room. By then, once the program is launched, it gets spread bottom down. Like the advisors have to tell each other, because if the headquarters says this is great for you, that's one way. But if other advisors and agents talk about it, so I've seen a lot of spread viral once the program started.
No, thank you, Michael. And that's something we could actually help you identify. Again, we're a data company. We have tons of data on everything. If you are trying to take a bottom-up approach and generate that groundswell, we could help you identify those people who are already engaged in this, either through their social selling index, which we can't share due to member privacy, but we can identify the most active ones, and the ones that are already participating in something like this on their own. So once you've generated support, once you've gotten a program, you say, hey, we want to do this. What I hear from a lot of people is, we want to do it, we're bought in, but we just don't know where to start. And that's really where LinkedIn comes into play. That's where we come in with your relationship manager, your training. We have a whole team that supports that, called product consultants, that could also help you get up and running. And you've heard both from the MBA and from Guardian a little bit about that partnership that we have with you. The 2 things that I hear most are, our guys aren't even on LinkedIn. They don't have profiles. Their profiles are terrible. They're not ready for this. That's where our team comes in. We can educate those guys for you at scale. And as you heard from Guardian, although Nate's not here anymore, as you heard from Guardian, we really are an extension of your team and your partner in doing this. We can help you guys amplify what you're trying to do, and we spend a lot of time partnering with both you guys to understand the specifics of your business, as well as with the compliance partner that you eventually choose, and we do have a bunch of them here in the room, to make sure that your guys are building profiles, that they're engaging in an educational sort of way. The other thing I hear is people they're just not going to do this. I can't get my guys to do this. He mentioned it's just another thing that we're going to ask them to do. And that, again, is where our team can really help educate on the value of it, and where that initial support and executive sponsorship ties in. Having somebody like your head of sales or your head of marketing, say, hey, this is something we really believe in, will help motivate people to start a new program. Can I lean on you because you're here? What was your experience with training and support? And obviously Simon's sitting next to you, so you have to be nice.
And actually we gave everyone in those regions a license, but what we found was some of them have picked it up and run with it, and others are really reticent to get involved. So actually one of our biggest learnings has been give it to a much smaller number of people and let it spread, like was mentioned, organically among that audience. And the second thing was, when we did our training, the first session we did for everyone, so we did a welcome, kind of how to set up your LinkedIn profile. And then after that, we split it into different streams, so an advanced use and a beginner's use, because actually the knowledge and understanding was so disparate that they needed different sessions.
Yeah. And she made a really good point, which is that off the bat, this is not going to be something that every single person adopts to and wants to make part of their process. And that's where we can really help. In addition to training and support, tons of data, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, about how people, if they're actually using this. One of the beauties of this program is that if you do it with some subset of your team, you can always reassign the licenses. If you find it's not a good fit for somebody, that's okay. You can reassign it to somebody else who it might be a good fit for. So that's one strategy, starting with a subset. If you have, let's say 1,000 people, maybe starting with half or 40% or whatever that is. And then you can really mix and match and spread some of those licenses around. So something to think about as you think about starting a new program in terms of where you should start, where you could start. Customer recognition. How do you actually drive engagement? Just going to summarize what the MBA and what Guardian said here, because they did touch on it so well. Spreading stories, spreading success stories is absolutely key to building groundswell and building support for your program. As Nate mentioned, nobody wants to be at the bottom of any sort of list if you're in sales. And so when you see something that's working for you, you're going to adopt it. It's funny with the social selling index, because we have that great measure of overall engagement on the platform. A lot of our clients actually make this an actual leaderboard, as you heard from these guys, and I get calls every day from advisors, from people in insurance that don't even know what the number means. And they say, I don't know what this is, but I'm tired of being at the bottom. Help me beat Brad over there. I can't stand Brad. And so we work with them to teach them all the things that they do, and it's really motivating for them. Have you guys done this in your programs at all, or use the social selling index? Either one of you? Yeah.
We have different KPIs that we absolutely publish than the social selling index, but it works the same way, right? This is gamification, and it's a competitive group of people. So the concept we absolutely embrace.
Yeah. And what are some of the KPIs that you use? Can you share those with us? Are they?
Yeah, we do. So number of connections we talk about an engagement index, which is, so we use both LinkedIn and Facebook, and so it's likes, shares, comments, and we weight that, and we absolutely talk about that. And then we do a study semi-annually about actual production and correlate it back to the social selling program.
Awesome, thank you. And it's funny because that transitions right into our next section, which is how do you generate success? What does success mean for you as a program? How do you measure it? How do you track it? How do you demonstrate that to kind of higher up the chain? And what is the right thing to measure? We have so much data at LinkedIn, and your compliance partners, they collect a ton of data as well. And so depending on the stage that you're in your program, it could be that there's different things you might want to measure. We saw some of the KPIs that he mentioned from his program, but some of the things we've seen as successful, and you can think about this as you think about your own programs, are as a program first gets started, the main question to me is are people actually on the platform? Are they using it? Are they logging in? And so some of those KPIs could be things like days logged in, the number of connections made, something around are you actually saving accounts? Are you saving leads? The basics. Are they actually in the product? And as your program matures and people become more comfortable with it, we start to see a lot of success measuring things around, are you running searches? Are you sending messages? Are people responding to your messages? And then at the end of the day, as the programs kind of mature and become more progress throughout the year, things along the lines of, are you actually setting up meetings? Are you generating new opportunities? Are you closing business? And those are all things that we could help you guys track as you go through the program. Are there any other KPIs or things that you guys would like to see measured as part of a program, things that you look at? And oh, you were just coughing. I'm used to you speaking a lot, so we work with Nate quite a bit. Any other things that you guys, ideas for what you would want to track or thoughts? Quiet group. Oh, here we go.
When I've approached a lot of the social metrics in the past, I break it down into 4 categories. So it's adoption, looking how many people are on it, then looking at the engagement, advocacy, and then the conversions as well. But also not only looking at it from a user level, but also looking at it from a content level, which I think is really, really important, especially as we've seen employee advocacy programs becoming a great way to expand your networks.
That's absolutely great idea, and something we could also help you track. As part of the social selling index, which you've heard a ton about, we do have an insight score, which measures all around, are people viewing the content that you're sharing? Are they liking it? Are they resharing it? So lots of ways we can track data. And part of what our team does is sit with you as you get started and figure out what those correct KPIs are for you and how we can help you track them. Wanted to leave a lot of time for questions because I don't think you're ever going to get all the experts in the room like this again. We have people who are running programs. We have our product people here. We have our compliance people throughout the room. I wanted to open up for questions, comments, things that you guys might want to know.
Because I think that would help drive adoption. I mean, as soon as you start talking about user licenses, et cetera, you get into a whole nother world of approvals and contracts and that type of thing. And I was just wondering if you guys have thought about any type of.
So we don't have any free trials. We do have paid pilots, and Nate here, classic example. You can tell us a little bit about how you did that and what you're.
I mean, ultimately, it was. We sort of had to pay for it because how are you going to really learn when there's a value of 0 on something? I don't think people really buy into the idea. And for us, it was 90 days. So it was a 90-day commitment. We did 250 licenses, and we got to see, was this worth it or not worth it? I think one of the advantages that everybody in this room has is they're using the new products. I started this with the old products, which was just sort of an extension of a few more filters in mail. That was really about it. So it was really sort of a challenge there because they were like, well, I'm not really experiencing anything different. But that really sort of helped us because we really had a group of people that were committed to it. We hand selected these folks and we knew that because we had, looking at our program overall, we already knew who the top performers were and how could we take them to the next level. And what we found was our top performers were not the top performing in sales. What we looked at was how engaged were they in LinkedIn, just in general, and then took those people and helped them actually elevate their practices. But I think the value is sort of making that investment to see, is this investment, if you scale it out, going to actually work? Because again, I mean, well, then why wouldn't you just give this away for free? Sort of like, why am I going to spend more money on this when I just tried it for 90 days and it was nothing? So we were able to sort of just really think about it that way was, is this something we want to support and look at doing further? For us, we turned around and we made that initial investment and then we turned it back on the user and said, if you want to do this, you have to pay for it. So we made the initial investment on 90 days and then after that, we actually use our storefront to sell that license back to them, which has really helped us in driving an engagement because they're vested. And we looked at it and we said, there's no way we're going to pay for this. Like Guardian cannot pay for this. As we do it, people will not use it. I hope that was helpful.
It's not a U-term, it's a shorter term. And one of the other reasons that we have to charge for it is that there is such an investment on our part. The training, the support, the reporting that goes into it, not something we can do for free. Any other questions, thoughts? I mean, we have a wealth of talent and experience in this room. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Sorry. So folks, Mike Brunick from Socialware, one of the compliance partners in the room. I know there's a couple of others. So relative to the pilot question, some of the customers that we deal with are reluctant on pilots, not just because of, are we signing up for a whole year, even signing up for 90 days, but also, the compliance aspects of it. So you're going to run a pilot, but it's real life people talking to real life customers, and there is a compliance concern, a regulatory concern there. So we have supported a couple of pilots as well, and I want to speak for Devin or Mike or any of the other compliance partners in the room, but I'm certain they'd say the same, which is if you want to run a short-term pilot, we would support that as well. We've done that for several other customers. So you can get the compliance guys to buy in on the pilot as well.
Excellent. Any parting thoughts? Maybe I'll give you some parting thoughts. As you think about doing this and entering into this program, just super important to know that you are not on your own. This is not a product that we sell you and walk away. It really is a partnership and a program, as you heard from guys like Nate and Justin over at the MBA. And we're heavily vested in the product, as you heard from our product guys, and making this an amazing experience for you, and also making it an amazing experience for you guys as customers and users. Feel free to ask us questions, catch us outside. Happy to help.